So welcome everyone. Thank you for joining in for Friday Study Circle. Yeah, so I would request anyone who wants to start with, who is ready with something to share, anything that you have read of Mother Sri Aurobindo, and then we can collectively start reflecting upon it. Chitra ji, if you are already ready, or Badal ji, you are ready.
Yeah, anyone, no problem.
Anyone.
I forwarded in the group, no, about Sri Aurobindo's saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, that only.
So today Badal ji seems very ready. Let us
let him share.
No. I think
Badal ji, it's nice to break patterns, you know.
Yeah.
So let us start with you today. It would be nice, different. If you are okay.
You come. बादल आप शुरू करो.
मेरा पैटर्न ब्रेक कर दिया तो मैं बाकियों के भी करा दूं.
Good evening, everyone. I was, I visited that place called Mayabati. So there is an Advaita ashram created by Swami Vivekananda. Before that ashram was constructed, and he was knowing that his days are coming to an end. It was 1899 that ashram was established by one disciple. He was Captain Xavier from British Royal Army, and his wife. They followed him from London when he came back after lecturing. So there he gave the prospectus. So all these days, whenever we were discussing, so anything about Aurobindo, so this is included in this actually, the visions what we had been talking about. So I was thinking that I will just read that prospectus which he has written. It is actually almost 1.5 page only, so not much. Advaita Ashram means he says that there should not be any photograph or something, and all this. Nothing should be worshipped like as such. It is like in Aurobindo Ashram, we do not have any idol or something. So similar to that, Advaita Ashram. So he starts, in whom is the universe? Who is in the universe? Who is the universe? In whom is the soul? Who is the soul? Who is the soul of man? Knowing him and therefore the universe as our self alone extinguishes all fear, brings an end to misery, and leads to infinite freedom. Wherever there has been expansion in love and progress in well-being of individuals or numbers, it has been through the perception, realization, and the practicalization of the eternal truth, the oneness of all beings. Dependence is misery. Independence is happiness. The Advaita is the only system which gives unto man complete possession of himself, takes off all dependence and its associated superstitions, thus making us brave to suffer, brave to do, and in the long run attain to absolute freedom. Hitherto, it has not been possible to preach this noble truth entirely free from the settings of dualistic weakness. This alone, we are convinced, explains why it has not been more operative and useful to mankind at large. To give this one truth a freer and fuller scope in elevating the lives of individuals and leavening the mass of mankind, we start this Advaita Ashrama on the Himalayan heights, the land of its first expiration. Here it is hoped to keep Advaita free from all superstitions and weakening contaminations. Here we will be taught and practiced nothing but the doctrine of unity, pure and simple, and though in entire sympathy with all other systems. This ashrama is dedicated to Advaita and Advaita alone. So this was the prospectus, because at the time of this thing, he could not be present at the time of inauguration. So he sent this.
I think the first few lines that you read out,
Yeah.
they were so beautiful. If you could just
The
first
first
few lines.
sentence is very long,
Yeah.
actually. First sentence, that is the gist of everything.
Yeah,
in,
that's
in whom is the universe?
yeah.
Who is in the universe? Who is the universe? In whom is the universe? Who is in the universe? Who is the universe? In whom is the soul? Who is in the soul? Who is the soul of man? Knowing him is H capital, and therefore the universe U capital, as our self, S capital, alone extinguishes all fear, brings an end to misery, and leads to infinite freedom.
Yes, yes. So this is what Mother also talks
Yes.
about, that
Yes.
once we get in touch with our soul, then all the fear of death is gone, because then you know that you are this undying, unborn element, which you are referring to in these lines.
Yes, we had been discussing about fear.
Yeah.
The other day, I think Chitradi was discussing about fear in one of the discussions, actually. So this fear, every one of us, we are under tremendous fear. Means we are not free, that way, freedom. We have not enjoyed that freedom, actually, in whichever sense he has spoken here.
Yeah, yeah.
The first sentence is very meaningful, which encompasses everything, actually.
I think non-dual, this understanding is also, for example, we talk about different souls. We talk about as if there are multiple souls. But when we understand it in terms of non-duality, they say that there is only one Atman. There is not too many, billions of Atmans. And for example, there is only one space, and in that space, millions of houses are. Just like that, the whole divinity, or if we can call one consciousness, that's why we call it non-dual, because there is nothing apart from that one can imagine, like that it is one space, that conscious infinite presence, and that houses all the manifestations. So when we know ourselves as that consciousness, when we expand ourselves or get in touch in any which way, little way, with that vastness and infinity, I think it is not possible that the fear of death stays then. So I think that is our journey, because again and again we get identified with the little mind, little vital, little body. Again and again it happens. And we have to just disentangle ourselves from that identification. Yeah, so that's really beautiful.
Absolutely. The moment we identify ourselves in the body, or I am the mind, or I am the intellect, and the problem starts, actually.
Yeah.
Because we are not that small, actually. And the Brahman, or whatever is called, so that is the only thing which is untouched, which nobody could so far touch it, actually.
Yeah.
Neither with our knowledge or experience, we could not know him, actually, what is. Neither we can think of avang manasu gocharam.
Beautiful. Yes,
you
yes.
cannot explain it, actually.
In Hindi, agge. We call it agge. Yeah. वो जिसको जाना नहीं जा सकता, जिसके थ्रू सब जाना जाता है, लेकिन उसको नहीं जाना जा सकता.
Sri Aurobindo also used this word age in the Life Divine. This age word has been used, and there are few chapters dealing with this Advaita.
Yeah, I think there is also a feeling of frustration around this that we go through, because all that we want to try to grasp it is through mind, senses, and all that, that achhi feeling ho jaye, and the achhi feeling comes and goes. Feelings are just fleeting, they come and go, and this, our own essence, is not a feeling. I think it's slowly in our understanding that we get to know that our essence is not a feeling. It's almost rather an absence of feeling, just like Shanti is absence of the garbage. And it's not that I am somebody has given me something from outside. It's just that the non-peace or the disturbing elements, they are absent in that moment. And even when they are present, my own being, the truth remains, but it's just masked with the dark clouds of those disturbances. Yeah, I think
Somebody says that Vivekananda is very intelligent and all this. Somebody asked questions. Can you describe or can you define darkness? He said, how can I define? There is no darkness. This is absence of light.
beautiful. Yeah.
This the darkness is the absence of light.
Hmm.
Light is there everywhere, but
Yeah.
because of our ignorance and things like that, we are not in a position to see. Actually, it's not that through this eyes what we have been having.
Yeah.
Actually, we think that whatever we are seeing with these eyes, that is the only thing which can be perceived.
Yeah.
So to look at that, there are different type of eyes or perception is required. May not be, we are not having that instrument.
Yeah. One example that I heard in this alignment with this, what you're sharing. So there was this example that I heard that it's so difficult to know our truth, although it's our truth, it's our essence, it's not separate from it, because we try to look at it through our senses, as we were sharing, try to look at it, feel it, experience it, but it's beyond the senses, right? And he shared one example that imagine that you are looking for your eyes in a room. You can never find your eyes in the room. You will never find it. You will be very frustrated because it's the very essence with which you see. And why can't I find my eyes in my room? Because it's not that it's too far from me. It's just because that it's too close that I can't really see it like an object. And that's why this frustration comes many a times, that why I'm not there? Why am I not there? But we are always there. It's just that we are in ignorance and identified more with thoughts and feelings. Yeah. Yeah. So I have really, this is what happens, Taru, when you give it over to me. Yeah, I'll stop.
Yeah, this reminded me of that Savitri line. Suffering was lost in her immortal smile. It is a minute or second, it seems, actually. If you see even a photo of mother with a smile, everything will vanish. But to believe that only we are traveling with all this process, actually. Yeah, I felt like that when read those lines. Suffering was lost in her immortal smile. Yeah, it is a minute or second, but to believe that this journey we are undertaking, like that, it is very near, as you say. That is why we are not, taking it, I think, actually. As if it is very far, we are searching. Yeah.
Chitradi, this was really beautiful. What you just shared, suffering was lost in her immortal smile. And I feel maybe this is how our basic love emerges, right? Like if we human relationship, human falling in love, that when it starts, it's really pure, right? Like especially talking about, if you'll allow me to, you say this first love, right? Which they say is just out of innocence. So I think we get a glimpse of that, right? We forget ourselves, and suddenly there seems that life can be more.
Yeah.
What we have experienced, what I thought life could be. That expansion you feel when two people, resonate in that way is probably just towards that. Like, but of course, it doesn't, like, not of course, that mostly it doesn't stay that way because other things that come up. But this seems like, and I really find this absence presence thing very fascinating. I feel there's a lot there. Monica, we were, the first time I think you had said it like a joke once on a messenger that, in the absence is the presence. But I think this really powerful. Like I was reading about truth the other day for the Harmony Circle. And in that too, they said that you can never know truth being you, right? But truth, you have to be absent. Because until you are there, truth can't be there, because like they say mitti kharab hai kinds, like we'll always try to, like you were saying, imagine things, or just believe what I want to believe, or what gives me peace rather than what is peace. I would really want to, just it's since you have said it, maybe I don't know, 4 or 5 weeks back, this absence present, it has been on my mind off and on. It's very intriguing, this absence and presence, and what I think my presence is, what I think I am, and seeing it again and again, it's not true, right? And then this, and to, but it's like, telling someone to kill themselves, right? To kill what they think themselves to be. So this absence is really intriguing also, and yet it requires a lot of authenticity, honesty, courage, sincerity to tell somebody, just lose yourself, or because it's so counterintuitive to what we have always thought we need to do.
आई थिंक वो जो कपलेट है कबीर का, जब मैं था तब हरि नहीं, जब अब हरि है तो मैं नहीं, इट्स एब्सोल्युटली रेजोनेट्स विद दैट, बिकॉज ऑल दैट वी सर्च फॉर इज द हरि, all that we yearn for is peace, contentment, fulfillment, joy, and that is another name for the Lord. And it seems that I will get the hari. That's what you were sharing, that, and as long as the I stays, the hari cannot be. And that's what we realize, that the path of surrender, for example, that we talk about, that it's the complete dissolution, slowly, gradual complete resolution of what we consider ourselves to be, not who we truly are, but what we consider ourselves to be. And we think that it's so important and we keep on holding on to it, but we don't realize that what we miss, all the treasure that we miss by holding on to that almost mirage, I would say, that this is me, this is me. And I think all of us have tasted those moments, as you were sharing, moments of love or oneness or, harmony. We have tasted those moments when the ego is not. It's not that we have not tasted. And there is more settlement, peace, and harmony in those moments. But then the nature of ego is that it rises up again, because there is a lot to be done there, Yeah.
A crux of the whole thing is basically how to increase these spells of not having me. When me goes, he comes. So how do you get those spells to increase in duration where I am not there? I should not be there. And the universe, or, the soul entity or the whole entity is there. The basic path is to train us to increase these spells, which we don't allow to happen because of our, you say habit, you say ego, because of it's all me, my story, or whatever. We don't allow those spells to increase. We keep going back into routine. If we just stepped back and said, no, I just want to step back and watch what goes on with me, probably we would improve our chances of having longer spells. I'm doing an experiment on myself for a month now, wherein unnecessary activities I am trying to eliminate, and trying to get into a little more introspection and reading only Mother and Sri Aurobindo, reading and trying to see if these spells can be stretched. I think I will say after a month.
The real test is when you interact with outside people. It starts, it's my experience. Yeah,
you interact with them, but yet you stay.
Yeah, that is a problem, yes. Correct. Other is not there if ego is not there. No, Ramana Maharishi used to tell, where is other? Nobody is there, but I can imagine that state, but I don't know. In practice, it is very difficult to, yeah. Because as you said, even my now my circumstances are like that, only myself and my daughter. She is also engaged in some Auroville works. I am also engaged in all these sessions, reading Mother and Sri Aurobindo, and days are going like this. I don't know if I happen to interact without, I mean, any other circumstances, how I would react. That maybe there it is the real test will start. I feel like that. I don't know, I'm just waiting. I don't know.
But I think these times of solitude are also important, because just
Yeah.
like this little sapling, if we,
Yeah.
plant, so we have to plant a fence around it for some
Yeah.
time.
Because it happened. Really, I didn't expect this. It's all, I feel it is all grace only. Mother is giving such circumstances. Yeah. I have to gain a lot. And then when I move, yeah, when the situation comes, there comes, yeah.
There is a story I'm remembering here. I don't know, maybe out of context, but let's see, maybe in context. So there is this merchant who is going along the road, and he stops for a rest in front of a tree. He sits down in the shadow, and there's few people come to cut down the tree. And the merchant, with a very strong attitude, he says that, why are you cutting this tree? I am resting here, go cut some other. And they also get very kind of, maybe some big person is there, and they say, okay, don't worry, we'll cut some other tree. So they go away from the tree, and on that tree there is a being that stays. And that being says thank you to the merchant, that thank you that you did not allow the tree to be cut, because I need to stay here for today. Tomorrow I am leaving this tree, so tomorrow if they cut, I have no issue, but today I needed to be here. So that being says that I have powers, and I want to give you a few powers. I want to give you 3 wishes. So in fact, 2 things can happen. So if you choose one, then you will be getting vidya, you will be getting wisdom. But if you want to take the lower boons, that's also okay. You will get 3 boons of material or lower nature. So he says, okay. He says that in few moments there would be a fruit falling on you. Take that fruit and go home, and then you can ask your wish later. So he takes the fruit fell, and takes the fruit and goes home. Now he's talking to his wife, and the wife is asking him, okay, what do you want then? What are you going to ask for? So he says that, pretty naturally, I'll ask for vidya, wisdom and knowing. And she says that, what stupidity, this can be gotten later also, but I feel that I have a bad kind of a nose, and you also have a bad shaped nose. Why don't we ask for beautiful noses? So he says, okay, that's also a good idea. So the first boon that they ask for is, let us have beautiful noses. So what happens is that the whole body is covered with noses. And suddenly they are just taken aback, what happened? And then in the second one, now what is to be done? So now they have 2 boons left. In the second one, he says that, what to do? So he says, what to do? Ask them so that the noses may disappear. So he says, okay, let the noses disappear. So even the original one disappears, everything disappears. And in the last one, now they have to ask, okay, give us back our original one. So I was just I recollected that story, because, we waste our opportunities many a times in so much trivia again and again. And we realize that we could, I think what Josna ji, for example, was sharing, Chitra ji, you were sharing, that to avoid the unnecessary that we keep on engaging ourselves in, thinking that that is so important. And Mother also, Sri Aurobindo and Mother have stressed again and again that the only purpose for human existence is to find your own truth and to live it out. Unless I find it, how can I live it out? And in finding, there are moments of solitude and all these, things that you were sharing, which come as a part of process. I think we need to be there. Yeah.
Like when I think, Monica, you had spoken about this about 2 months back or so, 2.5 months, the necessity of solitude. And it had sort of ingrained in my mind that we just don't let ourselves get those spans of solitude for whatever reasons, each one his priority and his own. And I was getting an opportunity to be able to manufacture a little solitude for myself. So I said, let me do it. And let me see how it feels. And just the planning of going about doing it is giving me such immense joy that I wonder what it's going to be when I'm actually in it. And sort of implement it, how it will impact. Because you then realize that you don't, Chitradi, you don't really need interaction with outsiders, because after a while, from what I'm speaking from my own perspective, outsiders don't matter. What they say, what they do, nothing matters. It just doesn't touch you. They say, it passes, and you say, okay, next. And that is what happens on an earthly plane. I have read in many of Sri Aurobindo and Mother's writings that after a while, everything around you loses its significance and seems boring. And that's exactly what happens. And we start perceiving it as mundane. So you may feel it.
I think kuch hai jo maybe I'm missing, maybe, and I like to talk about it. So मुझे लगता है कि first of all, when we talk about being alone or solitude, first of all, are we ever alone? We are not alone, since we are always with our thoughts.
Yeah.
The mind is always chattering. So if my mind is chattering, even when I am in a forest or maybe a Vipassana retreat, I cannot really call it, I'm just kind of thinking out loud here, I cannot really call it solitude, or although we can call it, like, I think it has its own benefit because you get a lot of time for self introspection. But I would not call it solitude, since I am with my thoughts. And I think it's what Krishnamurti who says that if you are alone and feeling lonely, then you are not in the right company. And what he meant is you're in the company of thoughts and what you think about the world. So I feel that it's not, somehow I feel that the more I stay with me within, whether I'm with a crowd, without a crowd, the more other people also, instead of boring, they become interesting for me. That's what I feel. Again, it may be just a passing phase, because that gives you a lot of food for thought also, and you see the similar things or patterns in your own being that maybe the other person was angry, but now, here it is in you right now as well. So मुझे लगता है कि at times it may happen that I am finding the external boring, but मुझे लगता है कि एक जब it's like the more interesting I find my own inner movements to be, the external life also has the power to become a guru or interesting, rather than just taking a kind of a ascetic like of a stand and mundane. मुझे लग रहा है, मतलब मैं तो सिर्फ I'm just kind of blabbering about it. Yeah, maybe more thoughts and reflections on it. Yeah.
No, correct. You are. The thoughts are there. Definitely it is there, because the life is there. Life's problems are there. So thoughts are there. Definitely it is there. But the thing is, for some nature, that solitude is very necessary. For some, I feel like that after all these experiences. But for some nature, as you said, even if you are with the people, you can be alone actually. That is there. So we have to find out our own nature and go like that. I feel like that. So I don't know. You have to find out your own thing, and whether to be in solitude or you can be with the people. But definitely, as you said, we should not get affected by people's talk, or their opinions, their emotions should not get affected. That is there. Yeah.
I think
But
even if we get affected, can I just make it a raw material for my own studies? That okay,
definitely.
here I am getting affected.
Yeah, definitely it is there. Yeah. Thankful to all these sessions. That's what happening. Even if I meet people and something comes to me, I can come out of it easily. I can get some raw material. I learn some lessons and come out of it easily. It is happening recently. Recently only I can say actually. Yeah. But for some nature that is necessary, no? For solitude is necessary. For some nature, yeah, they will be with the people, but they can maintain. Because my co-sister also in the same path, but she can attend all the marriages and everything. But for myself, I can't do that. Never. Yeah. She would say actually, she would hold my hands because I will feel very uneasy if I go to any crowd and all. She will definitely hold my hand. Be peace, peace, Chitra, peace. She used to tell actually. So she's like that. Yeah. I feel it is much better actually. That thing should come, no? Inside you should feel that you should not get affected if you are, I feel like that. If you are really in the path, you should not get affected by the circumstances. No, because that egoistic tendency is there, I am getting affected. Yeah.
Yeah, and
That I can see myself like that, but I have not yet gone to that level. Yeah.
Raji, when you are saying that we should not get affected by the circumstances, I'm totally with you. But the other thing that comes to me here is that we see that we get affected by the circumstances. Yeah. So parallelly, when I'm saying that yes, we should not be really getting affected again and again, swayed by the circumstances.
Yeah.
I think parallelly, we can also say that all the circumstances actually, you would agree, they become the raw material. So it's like a win-win situation.
Yeah.
That if I have the right attitude, then each circumstance, no matter what it is, with what person it is, it can just become a trigger and let me know that, okay, work required here, work required there in my being. So then I see that I can actually let myself get affected by the circumstances because they serve me the process in my own growth.
Yeah.
They serve as a raw material in my own growth.
Yeah. And learned the lessons, and then again I will avoid the crowd only. If I learn the lessons also, I will go to that loop only again.
Chitradi, there's one thing.
Mm.
You can have your solitude in a crowd.
Yeah, that is what I'm telling. Yes.
Solitude with people around you. You can absorb what you want to absorb and move back, and you can relinquish what you want to relinquish, and yet stay, that samta, that calmness should remain. I have found many instances where you can have solitude amongst many. Solitude doesn't mean going into a cave and sitting or into a room closed the whole day. No. Even if you meet people, your routine, whatever, if you are in a phase of solitude, it's a silent phase where that kira, the tape recorder in your head is your own tape recorder playing.
Yeah, that is what.
And it doesn't reflect on you. That's the way I'm looking at it. I'm hearing all the points of view. it's a learning game to learn from others too. But up to what level to let it affect you and whether it really helps you learn.
Yeah.
That again is your judgment, because there are so many factors in it, like sensitivity and each one's ways and habits and so. But whereas if you're in a, say you're in a crowd, if you don't have to let something affect you, nothing will. Like in medical terms, we call diabetes as starvation in the midst of plenty.
Hmm.
You have lots of input, lots of sugar everywhere, but you cannot use the sugar. So in the same way, we don't get that fulfillment despite having a lot of raw material and input, because somehow we are not getting geared to absorb it or balance it out or something. Monica will put it better.
Kabir, what you were sharing, I reminded myself of one line. He says, "Pani mein meen pyasi, mohe sun sun aave hasi." So it's almost like that condition we are in. That it's although it's full everywhere, the grace is everywhere when we theoretically talk about it, but since still we remain thirsty as ever. So yeah, there is something really needs to kind of attended now. Yeah, Taru, Nandini, please, you can also unmute and share.
Yeah, I think that's like it's that aspiration, no? I mean, I remember when I was reading, so it's like Raja Janak and Ashtavakra. मैं उपस्थित हूँ लेकिन प्रभावित नहीं. And that line has stayed with me for so long. It is really, such a work upon yourself that your constant checkpoints, you are checking your own thoughts, and to bring yourself in that awareness, it is a work in progress. Chitraji, I think what you were saying is, I totally get you, because sometimes you wish, at least, that somebody would have told you this probably 20 years ahead before. And yeah, if you could have just found that state continuously. I think there is some part in some, like Monica said, right? I mean, there are those moments that we do, uh, uh, we find them and we do experience them in every phases of our life. But I think this constant aspiration comes at maybe in a for some people maybe much earlier, for some people much later, but it does come, and then it becomes easier to sort of practice it. At least that's my that experience. You are I mean, like Mother and Sri Aurobindo, whenever it did, happen to them, I don't know how, I mean, I'm guessing with Sri Aurobindo, I still can understand. I mean, he was probably quite young, right, Monica? After he was a freedom fighter, no? And that's how he came to Pondi. He was actually, I think,
Yeah.
yeah, that's how
He
he
came
came,
from
right?
London, yeah.
Yeah, and he
Freedom.
was, I
Yeah.
think, and the
He came
French
to
gave
India
him.
and participated in the freedom movement. Yeah.
Correct, yeah. And then the French gave him, I think, they gave him
No,
that.
he got Adesh to go to Pondicherry.
Okay,
Actually.
all right, okay. And
Yeah,
that's
he
how.
got
Yeah.
Adesh. Then that's why he moved to Pondicherry from Calcutta to Chandenahur. From Chandenahur, he got the Adesh to go to Pondicherry immediately. He left that place and came to Pondicherry.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So yeah, so there's this story also. I think some of you. So there was the king, and he had to have a, like he wanted to have a painting competition, and so he called, lots of artists, and he said, whatever you see, the most beautiful scenery, you paint that. So obviously, all the painters had come from, the particular region, and they painted, mountains and sunsets and rivers and oceans and, whatever. And so among them, then there was this one painter who painted, and then and there was a lot of chaos around the painting, as in there was a lot of wind was blowing, and I think the way it sort of the painting came out, that was the thing. But in the middle of all that painting was a little nest, and in that nest there was a mother bird, and the mother bird was feeding her little baby, and that was her state. She was just feeding the child. That was the act. So then among all the paintings, obviously the king chose this. So all the artists, were left like sort of, a little dumbfounded that why this? And then he explained, so the Raja himself then says that, look at this, among all the chaos that is going on, the wind is blowing, the bird, the tree will probably fall, the branch might break. But look at this. All she has to do is feed her little child, and that is what she wants to do. So that's where, that is where it all sort of lies. It all comes to that. And I think in all that chaos, at some point you do come to that, that sort of that little point that, yes, we all come to maybe that state at some point of time.
Yeah, it actually happening to me now, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, really we are alone, myself and my daughter. Yeah, it is all grace only, definitely.
Right.
My point is, yeah, when you are moving with the people, how you are reacting or how you are taking, as Josna said, she shared, no, you are not, you should not get affected. That is the real test for me, actually.
Right.
For my,
Yeah.
yeah, it will be different for different people. Yeah, sure.
Holo muh.
हमारा कन्वीनर बंद है, बोल.
Somehow I'm, having this feeling that somehow this mind just has this tendency, this habit, this thing of defining things, right? Like, which is true. We have discussed it many a times, and yet, we see that everything is relative, right? Like, for someone, this could be solitude, that could be chaos, this could be a lie, this could be truth. And for the other, it could be totally different or a bit different, or, it's like, and yet, because I need to know, right? Like, according to me, where am I right now, where I am right now, this is solitude, or this is a lie, or, it's just amazing how we, it's like I don't know, somehow ऐसा लगता है कि there's something in me which want maybe entertainment as well and validation. And now that we don't find it in the places where we used to find it, it's maybe because this need to always demarcate, lineate, right? Like, it's just amazing. And yeah, and it's just humbling or grounding to see that this also needs to be, given up. Where do we go? Where are we going? What is this getting? Because I think it's most important is where we are operating from. Last time we discussed it beautifully, right? The center of operation, where Josna ji had shared an article, not an article, saying that about, like, it doesn't matter whether you are very generous, it doesn't matter where you're hoarder, it just matters where you're operating from. I mean, the word was different. So as long as, it's like I don't become that sage who sits on that hill of solitude that I am this. Everything that I want to experiment sounds beautiful, right? Okay, I wasn't doing this before and I'm doing this now, and that's enough. And wherever it will take me next, I'll go. I mean, we have this freedom, and yet we want safety, we want to know, we want to stick. It was just funny, to just hear us do this. And of course, we also know this. I'm not saying anything new. And yet to see it like kind of so nice. Yeah. And I think I will never forget what Nandini had just shared, that, upasthit hu but prabhavit nahi. It's beautiful that we do it, but to hear it in a sentence like that, very powerful and so simple. Yeah.
I think these are our processes all of us go through. And as you were saying, that these are all relative processes, what we were discussing, I think last to last time, that there is no absolute truth that we, everything is relative. And that's why I think when we judge others, that comes to a fall, because then I realize that I absolutely am in a no position to judge other, because that is just a journey. Just like I am journeying, the other person is also journeying. And all these phases are absolutely necessary on this journey. Hence, there cannot be ever a judgment which is absolute. All of these are relative understandings of my own being. And they keep on changing, understandings keep on changing also. And I think, as you were sharing, that it's very grounding, because when I see myself changing so fast, then on what basis do I judge others? And that is where the talk about others, or even gossiping or chatting about others, almost come to an end, because there is no point there. Every ground will be broken soon. So उसमें एक मुझे लगता है कि बहुत ज़्यादा it also brings us to a kind of a silence of mind, because then there is hardly anything that you can talk about, because everything is relative, fleeting, necessary also in the growth. So what is the point? And that's why a few masters have said that silence is the best teaching. I think maybe here we can talk about that also. Not talk, because it comes into picture here, that silence is the best teaching. Now, understanding that all these phases are necessary parts of our own progress. Yeah. So session बंद कर देते हैं फिर यहाँ पे. Since silence is the best.
No, actually, I want to read something about Sri Aurobindo thing, actually.
Radhi had to say something, no?
Yeah. That is a long thing. I think, again, if you take it for discussion, I don't know. But I will read something from that 12 years with Sri Aurobindo by Nirodharan. I will read something, maybe little bit connected with this, actually. When Nirodharan is the scribe for Savitri to write, so Sri Aurobindo in the last stages, before he withdraw from his body, he used to give attention to Savitri from morning 11 to 1:30 p.m. it seems. Nirodharan used to write, and Sri Aurobindo used to dictate sometimes, and sometimes he would be very spontaneous, it seems. So what happened one day, it is directly from Nirodharan's words. I will read that. A curious incident has stuck in my memory. One day he continued working, he's mentioned about Sri Aurobindo, continued working even beyond 1:30 p.m. A rare occurrence. And that was the day I was invited for lunch at a friend's place. This is Nirodharan, actually. I thought I would certainly be free by 2 p.m. But no, he seemed to be unusually inspired. Sri Aurobindo, I believe I was showing some signs of restlessness, at which he remarked, "What is the matter?" I don't remember whether I kept quiet or told him the truth. He, however, shut shop soon after. This incident reminds me strongly of Champaklal's valuable admonition that those who want to serve the divine must have no personal ties or strings. Imagine Nirodha, he himself is telling this actually. Yeah. And another thing also, I will read this. It's very beautiful. He is telling about, I desist from giving my own impression of the incomparable epic about Savitri. He's telling Nirodharan, I have no such competence and thought I have been made, though I have been made a poet by the master, I leave it to more efficient authorities. One fact alone makes me dumb with a reverent awe and exalted admiration, the colossal labor Sri Aurobindo put forth to build this unique structure. It reminds me of one of those majestic ancient temples like Konark or of a Gothic cathedral like Notre Dame, before which you stand and stare in speechless ecstasy. Your soul takes a flight beyond time and space. Before I knew much about Sri Aurobindo, I asked him in my foolish way why, himself being the master of inspiration and having all higher planes at his command, sending inspiration to others, should he still have to work so hard? With his consciousness entirely silent, he had only to hitch to the right source, and words, images, ideas would tumble down in a Brahmaputra of inspiration, to which he answered in his habitual indulgent tone, perhaps a bit picked by my facile observation. The highest plane are not so accommodating as all that. If they were so, why should it be so difficult to bring down and organize the supermind in the physical consciousness? What happy-go-lucky fancy, web spinning, ignoram, I don't understand this, ignoramuses you all are. You speak of silence, consciousness, overmental, supramental, etc., as if there were so many electric buttons you have only to press, and there you are. It may be one day, but meanwhile, I have to discover everything about the working of all possible modes of electricity, all the laws, possibilities, perils, etc., construct roads of connection and communication, make the whole far wiring system, try to find out how it can be made foolproof, and all that in the course of a single lifetime. And I have to do it while my blessed disciples are firing off their gay or gloomy a priori reasonings at me from a position of entire responsibility and expecting me to divulge everything to them, not in hints, but at length. Lord God in omnibus. When I read this, no, actually, yeah. How he expressed, can't imagine, because when I came to know about Sri Aurobindo, no, first I can't understand him, because if I think like him, a god as an idol in the temple, you can worship him, that's all, with bhakti. That bhakti is completely different, no? No. But Sri Aurobindo and Mother are not like that. They are very near us. They are giving all the instructions to lead a very good life, and also that inner life is also side by side going on. That is the difference I found from worshipping a goddess in temple and adoring Sri Aurobindo and Mother. And when I read all these things, I feel, I don't know, if anybody asked me also whether they ask, do you believe they are gods? I would say, I don't know, I feel they are above gods and goddesses, actually. always that feeling. They are not also messengers of God like Satya Sai Baba or Amritanandamayi. I don't know. But Sri Aurobindo and Mother, I feel they are directly from Supreme. I feel that actually. Personally, I feel like that. That is my feeling.
In today's forward, you have written that they are avatars. Avatars is something that word has been used,
Yeah.
which you are supposed to be discussing today.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, correct. Along with that, I wanted to read this also. That's why I read this.
okay.
This is by one of his disciples, no, Nirodharan. He was a doctor. He lived there till, I think, till the age of 101. He just lived opposite to the Samadhi in a small room.
Yes.
He used,
ground
he
floor.
used to come out of the, his room to Samadhi with a lot of that, I don't know that English name of that flower actually, that is called Vadamalli in Tamil. I don't remember that English name, botanical name actually. He used to keep very, very fresh flowers. It is, the meaning is the immortality. That flower's meaning is immortality, Mother gave actually. With that flower, he used to daily come to Samadhi and keep those flowers actually. Twice or thrice I saw it personally. It would be a very nice scene to see him to come to Samadhi and keep those flowers there. Yeah.
So one lady from Bangalore is staying in that room, by the side of that room actually.
Yeah.
So she was a student of Mother, like in the school actually.
Okay.
And subsequently, she got this thing.
Oh,
She
okay.
didn't go out till then. After the schooling was over and all this. He got attached to it. Till now, she's. The 2018 when I visited, then we saw the parade also. So I was surprised to see that at that old age also they're doing the parade like military.
Yeah.
So then I inquired what is it actually. So then
Yeah. Even Nirodharan was cycling till I think 98, 99 years. He used to do cycling actually. He's very active. Because he asked Sri Aurobindo humorously, I don't know, very seriously, he asked that boon, it seems. I want to live for a long time with young mind and young body, actually. That was granted to him. Yeah. Yeah, we can end. Yeah. Sorry, I took time. Yeah.
No, it was so beautiful that, didn't feel like speaking at all.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's call it a day then.
Yeah.
Thank you everyone for joining. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
So,
Yeah.
thank
Thank
you.
Thank you. Thank you, Monica and Taru. Yeah.
Thank you. Bye-bye.